I'm Dr. Kaushik Ram, and welcome to this channel where I take you on an adventure on mind and body. And today I have Brenny McDonnell with me. Brenny found boxing after experiencing great trauma. He used it to escape what he was experiencing internally. Fast forward 12 years, his practice has become a way of connecting with his body and his emotions. Brenny, it's such a pleasure to be here with you, and you've shared with me some incredible stories, and what has really caught my attention is how you've transformed a tragedy that happened well over 12 years ago when you were 15, and how you've worked through your emotions and even helped others to cope with their emotions as well. And you do it through this beautiful art form, which is boxing. And to me, that's quite a irony, because it seems like boxing is quite brutal, it's quite violent, but it's in a way able to transform the way people work through emotions and how they cope with it. And I'd love for you to just work me through some of the processes that you've been through, and how are you using them.
Thanks for having me, Matt.
Such a pleasure.
Appreciate you. Yeah, I wouldn't mind going back to when I first found the practice and what it meant to me then.
Yeah.
To articulate what it's meant to me now.
Yeah.
What this fight meant to me more recently.
Yeah.
So the way I've sort of been explaining it more recently, with my recent sort of inquiry into the self and my inner child and whatnot, is I experienced great trauma, and I was incapable of processing or experiencing the emotions associated with that trauma. And I in fact went numb when I was 15. And I found boxing, kickboxing at the time. And basically what it did, it created a space where my angry, confused inner child could express himself. It wasn't an inner child at the time, it was me. I was that child, so I basically had a playground, not dissimilar to like when you put a little baby in a cushioned playpen and you shut the door. It's got all those balls and soft toys to run around and play, and you feel safe, and you feel safe that they're locked into this room and it's all cushioned, they can't hurt themselves. So the gym became this safe space for me. My trainers and my training partners created this safe environment for me to come in and express my anger, in short. I was incapable of actually processing and experiencing anger in my body outside of the gym, but then I was given this space where I could unleash and punch the fuck out of things and people. And I escaped in the gym for many years, upwards of 8 to 10 years, it was always there for me. And I developed a lot of self-discipline, and that, as we always say, everyone's always praising the fighter, because they've got all these attributes that make you powerful in the world and powerful in whatever you choose to do. I can step out, and I studied at university and I was really successful thanks to the attributes I gained through my training. But that's a side note. I just want to outline that because I gained this kind of motivation and discipline and rigor and these guts and this courage, which inevitably enabled me to have the guts and courage to admit that I was fucked up and struggling, and have the guts and courage to go, I need help. And when I was 20 years old, I sought help, and I started seeing a psychologist. And as I've said multiple times, I had all these fight trophies and certificates from university, but I just felt empty, and I was just stuck in my room, so confused, and my emotions started coming out, and I didn't know why. I had absolutely no grasp on emotion. I'd just simply been escaping everything I'd experienced as a child. And But yeah, moving forward, I've continued to practice, and I've continued to put myself in here, and I've continued to put myself in front of a therapist, you know, for 12 years later. I'm now 28 years old. I was living life in these cycles in that, you know, there's a pit, there was a pit of anger and sadness stuck deep inside of me that I'd suppressed from my childhood and my experiences, you know, of my father's suicide. And I was living in this cycle of sort of giving space for my inner child to express himself, you know, come into the gym and punch on and start writing a lot about my experiences on a blog, and created a clothing brand to channel some of that energy and be creative, let it flow creatively. But inevitably, I was never actually learning anything whatsoever about my emotional body, about my energetic body. I had absolutely no grasp on emotion or what the fuck it was. All I'd been doing was creating a space where I could basically vent, punch the fuck out of things and people, and you know, allowing, and that would sort of alleviate this rising of this emotion. You know, as time goes on, the emotion wants to come out. It wants to come out of me. You know, my body wants to be rid of it. So I'd have all these moments where it would present itself. I would have no idea what to do with it. So, you know, jump in the ring, jump into the gym, punch it out, ride it out. In short, like, I hadn't processed any of the emotions that were tied to my father's death. Although everyone believed I had, because I was doing so much work in the mental health space. And I believed I had. But the reality was, all I'd done was intellectual work. I developed my intellect to understand, supposedly understand what had gone on. He did this because of this. I felt this because of this. But I wasn't actually feeling anything. I was completely numb.
So one of the things that I see so much in society is men not having a safe place to express their emotions. Mostly because the aspects of a masculine, which is brutal, violent, sometimes even destructive, is not welcome in society. So that is part of our dark side, and we hide it away. And when we hide one part of our life away, then the entire complex of the masculine gets hidden away with it as well. So we don't actually get to express the good qualities of a masculine through that. So one of the things that I find really powerful is that when you start having a place to train these emotions, that we all have a destructive nature. It's part of the natural laws of nature. Everything goes through a process of creation, preservation, and destruction. And when we don't honor the destructive side, then the creative side isn't honored as well. Like, positive and negative qualities are always there. So in your boxing practice, can you talk about how you have harnessed the destructive channels, the trauma that you have faced, and how it's allowed you to connect with your body?
Yeah, I'll try. It's I feel as though my process, I fully appreciate what you've just said, sort of creating a space to allow these emotions, these energies, to nurture them and allow them to come up. I feel as though my process is a little bit different to what maybe on paper, because from the outside you see a person, a boy who's rather successful in his practice in here, and he is, you know, connecting with the anger, the destructive energy, and successful in punching people, hurting people, and you know. But the truth is, I wasn't reflected in the outside world. I wasn't I wasn't conscious. I don't think I was conscious of the energy I was harnessing, so I was suppressing it outside the gym and
expressing it within the gym.
So just going back to my previous setup, which I hope I can answer your question through. I went to see this, to sit in front of this psychotherapist, and it was not like any of the therapy I'd had before. It was a bit not dissimilar to this. There was like a camera sitting in front of me. He's sitting beside the camera and he's analysing me, like scrutinising me, and he was not allowing me to sit and tell my stories like as traditional therapy may be perceived. Go and sit in front of a guy sitting with a notepad. Tell me about your childhood. Fascinating, I was basically we spoke briefly on the phone, and he got to know, I think, enough about me. Went in there, and he basically within 3 minutes of me beginning to tell my story, he goes, "Oh, look at that! Did you see that? Did you see what your leg did there? It twitched." Or something like, and moving forward, let me talk a little bit more and go, and did you see that? And the whole time he's intently looking at me in the eyes, and I'm looking away, and sort of, I guess freaking out a little bit, maybe sweaty. And he was looking for the truth in my body, he was looking for, he could see the anxiety in my body, but he could see the way I'm articulating my story was a result of years of anxiety, years of overanalysis, years of overthinking, whereas my body was telling a completely different story to what my mouth is going. I can talk to you for fucking days about my experiences, my trauma, but so my body's calm now. I've worked through it. I can be here and express myself, and if I want to, if you say something hurtful, I might cry. But what we uncovered in that therapy room over this period of a year was, well, he actually knew it immediately because he could see straight through all of my work, and he wouldn't let me ramble on about Herman's Hands or my blog or anything. He went straight to the body, and we realised that I was basically almost fully incapable of experiencing anger.
This last fight that you did back in November, and what blew my mind was that you're talking about how you had won the fight before you entered the ring. And that is a concept that, it's very, very interesting. Can you mention a little bit about how you walked into that fight?
And I knew it was time for me. It had been, 7 or 8 years since I'd fought. And I was a completely different creature when I fought last. I was this anxious freak of a kid, Now I was a man who was close to stepping into his power. A heavyweight, I was like 70 kilos the last time I fought, and I fought at 90 kilos, So yeah, I got to that point, I made that decision, I committed to stepping into this fight, and at that same moment, I'd been stepping into this breathwork practice and men's work and all sorts, and I had a couple of experiences where I was actually taken to those times in my childhood, when I was 15. I was taken to those moments inside a room in Double Bay, where I basically felt the emotions I was supposed to feel that day in 2007, but was numb to it, as I said. And I started this, and I basically grieved. I grieved the loss of my father, 12 or 13 years too late. So I was grieving, and I was going through another relationship breakup. I had to move house, and that, in the midst of that, I was stepping into this fight, and committed to this fight. So yeah, it was arguably the most potent emotional time of my life, just recently, just gone in 2019. And but again, I knew I had to do it as part of my process. Again, you can't learn how to be angry if nothing makes you angry.
Mm-hmm.
You can't challenge your fight or flight mechanism if nothing stresses you out. So the theme for me was just show up.
Mm-hmm.
And I continued to show up for myself. For the first time in my life, I started showing up for myself because I'd become this person who was showing up for others. You know, when I needed support and to be held, I was incapable of doing so. I just went outwards and started holding and supporting others through my work. So I started showing up for myself and holding myself. And like I said, your initial question, you said I had the fight before I stepped into the ring on November of 2019. Yeah, I'd already accepted myself. You know, all of myself, all of these states. You know, showed up once again in a slightly better state with a little bit more bounce, a little bit more awareness, and a little bit more acceptance that I'm going to get hit. This is part of boxing. This is, you know, just like exactly the same as the acceptance of my emotions in this grieving period. Accepting that I'm going to feel anger, I'm going to feel pain, I'm going to feel sadness. You know, and I processed what I was experiencing, and I went in and was fucking formidable. Like I was a different being, and I was capable of blocking everything and countering, and I ended up dropping the same guy who beat me up the week before. I dropped him in the second round. You know, and that was it for me. Like I'd already fought and won twice, you know, with myself. So when I went and fought some guy at Bondi Junction in the ring on the Saturday night in November, then I got a point to win anyway, but didn't really matter. The journey was already.
So
I got there. Yeah.
That one was the Sydney Metro fight. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Beautiful. Thanks for sharing, Brendan.
Pleasure.
This is amazing. And now I get to jump into some training with you, and you get to show me the ropes and maybe end up in the ring as well.
All right, let's go.
This whole session has been incredible, learning how to punch, defend, but more importantly, what's been coming up for me is that I'm pretty much now ready to spar in the ring. Although this isn't a real fight, the nerves are up there, knowing that I've learned so much, but now it's for me down to my raw basic instincts on how to defend myself, because one session is barely enough to cope with a beast like Brenny. And I really don't stand a chance, but I'm going to give it all that I have to see how far my instincts and trust in my own body takes me.
Feel around now. That's love. Go for it. Leave it all out there. Go for it. That's not already through on you. No, we're near to it. Let's go. Good. Oh, so got in. Good.
I'm more concerned about my own fatigue. Like throwing punches and getting hit really took the wind out of me. And this last round is pretty daunting because like I really feel that I've got nothing left. And but still, the only thing I do have is trusting my body to know what to do. And that's going to keep me going.
Sorry, we go. Go. Take it. Please.
So I'm here at the Bondi Boxing Gym and I have been training with the incredible Brenny McDonnell. And you can follow him on Instagram and come and support his incredible work done at the Bondi Boxing Gym. And he also has a charity foundation called Herman's Hands, and it is for suicide prevention. And it would be incredible for you guys to jump on and support or even become aware of the incredible work that Brenny is doing. So I hope you love this episode and can't wait to share more with you guys.